I would say I get harassed around 3 times a day.
I'd say 1 or 2, but it really depends on what I do that day, like where I go, like what time it is.
In terms of like how many times a day, it just depends on the day, but it can happen up to like 5 or 6 times, maybe even more, but sometimes it might only happen just a couple.
It kind of depends on how I'm dressed. Like if I'm dressed down, it's like 1 or not at all. And if I am dressed up, it's like 3.
I'm always thinking about it, and anyone that I walk by, I wonder if they're gonna say something.
I was outside of my house because I had to go to CVS, and this group of guys just pulls up like in their car and they stop in the middle of the street, and they're all like beeping, and then they're like, "Hey girl, what are you doing tonight? Do you want to come hang with us?" And like it was like all of them stopped in the middle of the street, and there's like traffic coming up behind them, and like everyone's just staring at me, and I couldn't do anything about it. Like there's like I can't report them to the police or anything. That would be a joke.
It was around 7 in the morning. I was wearing a winter coat and jeans, and I hear these 3 guys yelling at me. They had just gotten off the bus. They were yelling at me, white girl with a big booty. And at first I was like, oh, they're not talking to me. I mean, with the way I was dressed, I was just like, they're not talking to me. So I looked around. I was the only girl walking to school, or the only female. And they kept screaming it. So finally I started walking faster, and they started screaming, "Shake that booty faster, shake that booty faster." And I was kind of, just shocked and scared, trying to get into the school as fast as I could. And then one of them yelled that it looked like I had a juicy cunt. And it was very interesting because I don't know how they could have, ever guessed that from looking at me. And it was very disgusting and disturbing, and I thought it was highly inappropriate.
This car started like circling the block I was walking on, and they started yelling at me. It was like a bunch of college guys. I was wearing a dress because it was a formal event. And they started like, "Oh, hey, do you want to get in our car?" And I'm like, "No, obviously no." And I just tried to ignore them. And then they came back, and they would just say something else. And they kept on doing it. And then the last time they came by, they were like, "Do you want to get raped?"
The negative feeling that it puts in you as soon as it happens, that it doesn't matter what you're wearing, or it doesn't matter what you're doing, you're always being stared at and gawked at. It doesn't even have to do with what you look like, or what you're wearing. It's just that you're female and you're somehow less of a person.
In the United States, the socialization has been that women are more objects than people. I still feel that some men have that mentality that we're just objects and they can say whatever they want to us, and it's very wrong.
I don't know, like, if guys think, like, oh yeah, some girl's gonna be like, "Oh yeah, I'll totally talk to you if you're like, oh hey baby, you're so hot, get in my car." Like, it's if I see somebody who street harasses me, that's a good chance I never want to talk to them again.
It makes me feel petrified, like I'm very, very scared. It makes me angry, and it kind of makes me sad.
I think it would have to be like a major cultural shift. Like it's just part of like rape culture, and like that's not going to change anytime soon.
I really don't think that the people who do street harass care that it's affecting females in this way. And I know that sounds horrible, but I really feel like if I went up to someone and said, "Look, this really affects my life, you're scaring me," that's what they want. They want that element of shock.
Parents would teach their kids to not do stuff like that. It's so simple, and they just don't do it. Like, it's always like, oh, women, you have to avoid having this happen to you, but it's never like, men, don't do this. Like, it shouldn't be that hard.
I think awareness is a big thing, and education about the issue. Just making men that do this aware that it's not flattering, that it doesn't make us feel good, and it in fact makes us feel really awful and scared. I think that's important, and hopefully if some men know this, they'll refrain from doing it.